Hi, Jen Maleka, the Holistic Health Boss, your functional diagnostic health coach and personal training expert. And this week, I am sharing with you guys my personal story about my recent diagnosis with Hashimoto's, which is a thyroid autoimmune disorder. Now, I was a little bit hesitant to share my story with you guys at first because I was so concerned about what people might think. Here I am as the Holistic Health Boss, preaching all of this healthy lifestyle stuff, and then I have something like this land in my lap. And ultimately, I'm human, and we can't always avoid these situations. I wanted to share my story with you guys this week to hopefully empower you guys also as you listen to this to not settle for anything less than what it is that you deserve when it comes to your life and your health. What was happening for me is I was just not feeling like myself in my body, and I kept uncovering and investigating till I got to the bottom of it, and lo and behold, found out that I have Hashimoto's. So I was recently having a conversation with a friend, one of my first friends that I told about this, and her immediate response to me was like, oh my gosh, aren't you, kind of disappointed or upset that you were like the healthiest person that you know, and here you are with Hashimoto's? And I immediately responded to her and told her no, because one of the ways that I kind of looked at this when I received this diagnosis was it's like car insurance, right? So we have car insurance to protect us for those times when we get in a car accident, to help us recover from the car accident physically and financially better. And just because we have car insurance doesn't mean that we drive around expecting to not get into a car accident. It's actually there for the time when we do get into a car accident. And that's kind of how I perceive this healthy lifestyle thing that I've been doing, and that I'm encouraging you guys to do, is that we don't always know what's coming around the corner, who's going to take a left turn on us internally in our hormones and run into us and create some kind of catastrophe in our bodies. So it's better to protect ourselves against those things than it's to not do anything about it. And so let me describe a little bit about what Hashimoto's is and autoimmunity in general. So Hashimoto's is specifically an autoimmune disorder of the thyroid. And an autoimmune disorder is when your body literally is attacking itself. It's viewing typically healthy tissue, like your thyroid tissue or other tissues, as foreign invaders, toxins, chemicals, things like that. It's gotten confused. And part of this happens is that with chronic exposure to such things as environmental toxins or mold or chemicals or processed foods in our environment, over time our body is fighting against that, and then eventually cell mimicry happens and our body can no longer distinguish between the bad guys and the good guys inside. And so it starts producing antibodies or things to attack the tissue and even the healthy tissue. And unfortunately, our thyroid or other tissues can become victim to that. And once you have an autoimmune disorder, you always will have an autoimmune disorder. But the good news is that an autoimmune disorder is totally manageable, which is something that I'm really excited to share with you guys as my journey through this process continues. So in order to have an autoimmune disorder, they say that 3 things have to be in place. One is that you have to have the gene for it, so there's a genetic component. 2 is that you have to have leaky gut. And 3 is that there has to be some type of environmental trigger. Now, environmental triggers can come in all different types of forms, and actually a lot of environmental triggers will contribute to leaky gut, so it's a little bit of this vicious cycle that happens. So environmental triggers are things like gluten and dairy, certain species of parasites, bacteria, and yeast. Also mold or heavy metal or toxin or chemical exposure, as well as chronic unrelenting stress, which all of us have a little bit of that in our life. And then when other hormones are out of balance, so even for women, when we go into peri or premenopause, some of those shifts in our hormones can actually trigger an autoimmune disorder if we already have the 2 other factors, the gene for it and leaky gut. And I'll tell you guys that with all of the clients that I work with, every single one of them, all of us have some degree of leaky gut because of the world that we live in these days with all the chemicals and toxins and processed foods. So it's really going back to living a more natural lifestyle that's going to help to heal our guts and prevent autoimmunity or other issues down the road. So that's one of the things that I definitely have had working for me in this whole process. that I didn't even know was happening behind the scenes. I already eat an anti-inflammatory diet, I get plenty of sleep, I exercise but I don't overtrain, I take supplements to support my body in the way that it needs it most, and I also have already been going through the process, or have done over the years, eliminating toxins out of my lifestyle, such as lotions, personal care products like makeup, hair care, cleaning products, and my house. So those are some of the key elements for autoimmunity, whether you have it or whether you're trying to prevent it. Now for me, two specific triggers that I do know about that probably, are what caused the Hashimoto's gene in me to actually reflect or come out was mold and elevated estrogen. So you guys, if you've been following my emails, you know that I've been talking about having mold in our house. And I started working from home about 2 years ago. And it wasn't until May of this year that I discovered that we had mold back in our house, and I have no idea how long I had been exposed to it. But now that I know that it has been there, I can kind of track back my symptoms to at least a year ago. And one of the things that happened as a result of being exposed to that mold is it elevated my estrogen levels. So certain toxins and chemicals, including mold and cleaning supplies and things like that, they can actually elevate or mimic estrogen in our body. They're called xenoestrogens. And whenever we have elevated estrogen, that can then create a cascade or a domino effect on the rest of our hormones. It causes irregularities in cortisol, our stress and anti-inflammatory hormone, and it can also cause irregularities in our thyroid hormone, which is the case with me. Whenever we have excess estrogen, it causes our thyroid to create more thyroid binding globulin, and then it kind of ties up some of our thyroid, everything gets dysfunctional, and then creates stress and inflammation internally, which can result in autoimmunity. Now you can be on the spectrum for autoimmunity, so you can be showing signs and symptoms of autoimmunity well before it portrays itself, which is why it's so important to have this insurance in your life, you guys. So just like we have car insurance in case we get in a car accident, we also need to be living a healthy lifestyle in case we have something like this that pops up. Because if you're already living a healthy lifestyle, your body's going to be more equipped to handle this situation, and it's going to be able to recover faster from it. So this is one of the things that I'm actually excited about with my case, is that in looking at my autoimmunity numbers, my anti-thyroid antibodies, the anti-TPO and anti-thyroid globulin, my numbers are actually fairly low. So I caught it either really early, or my body has been doing a great job at kind of monetizing this through my lifestyle already, which is important. So while I'm not perfect all the time, I am going to be getting a little bit more focused on making some changes in my lifestyle to put this thing into remission, because you can put autoimmunity into remission just like you can cancer. So I will be transitioning into an autoimmune paleo diet for the next couple of months, which means not only being gluten, dairy, sugar, soy, and alcohol free, but also grain free altogether, and avoiding certain nightshades and legumes that also can trigger antibodies to attack the tissue on the inside. Along with that, we're also going to be doing a thorough investigation of the mold that's been in our house, making sure that we've gotten rid of all of it and in a non-toxic way so that we can clean up the environment in which I live in. The crazy thing about mold is that only 1/4 of the population actually has the gene to show physical signs of mold toxicity. So it can be really hard to investigate or to prove in some cases, because for example, you could have 4 people living in the same house and only one of them actually showing physical symptoms of mold toxicity, even though it's affecting everybody. So we're going to be investigating that. I'm going to be running some extra tests, sharing my insights with you guys about this. Again, on this journey, as I start to uncover these things, the knowledge that I will obtain and accrue, I'm going to be sharing it with you, because again, I want to share my story with you to help empower you, that there are options, there are resources out there, that if you're suffering, if you don't feel like yourself, if you're holding on to extra weight, if you're fatigued all the time, constantly getting sick, you don't even recognize yourself in the mirror, you're having to drag yourself out of bed, you don't have to live this way. You know, I've committed myself to not living this way at all and wanting to be the best that I can be, and I want the same for you too. So I hope in sharing my story that you guys feel empowered in this in some kind of way. If you guys have any questions, want to learn more about whether it's autoimmunity, how hormones come into play, environmental toxins, mold toxicity exposure, this is my area of expertise, and I want to invite you to schedule a complimentary Ideal Health and Weight Discovery session with me so that we can talk more about it. You can do that on the link below or click back to the email where you found this video. And also I want to share with you 2 of my favorite resources that I have right now, books that I've been reading to remind myself of some of this information, to expand my knowledge. 2 books by Dr. Amy Myers. One is called The Autoimmune Solution, and the other one is called The Thyroid Connection. I've been sharing these with my clients as well because she does such a great job of very descriptively going through how all this is happening in your body, and it's always good to hear it from somebody else besides me as well. So hope you guys check out those resources. Please feel free to schedule a complimentary consultation with me if you want to discuss this more, and stay tuned for more that I will be sharing with you as I progress through this journey of healing Hashimoto's.